and people that the investigators are looking at?
I think it's fair to say that there have been people of interest to the investigators, and everyone that they've identified so far, they've been able to exonerate. Perhaps exonerate isn't the best word, but they've been able to eliminate them as being an actual suspect. And we do not have a name of a person or persons who are actual suspects. That's what they're focusing on still.
So there's not someone behind the scenes that you secretly know about that you're just waiting on one more piece of evidence or one more piece of DNA and then boom, this will be settled?
Okay. I can tell you that I'm not aware of any single person with a name that we're focusing on, or the investigators are focusing on.
Okay, so it could be a while.
It could be, or it could break open any time.
Are there persons of interest and people that the investigators are looking at?
I think it's fair to say that there have been people of interest to the investigators, and everyone that they've identified so far, they've been able to exonerate. Perhaps exonerate isn't the best word, but they've been able to eliminate them as being an actual suspect. And we do not have a name of a person or persons who are actual suspects. That's what they're focusing on still.
So there's not someone behind the scenes that you secretly know about that you're just waiting on one more piece of evidence or one more piece of DNA and then boom, this will be settled?
Okay. I can tell you that I'm not aware of any single person with a name that we're focusing on, or the investigators are focusing on.
Okay, so it could be a while.
It could be, or it could break open any time.
Persons of interest and people.
Welcome back to my mental health and crime channel. My name is Huda London. I'm a licensed mental health counselor and a licensed cognitive behavior therapist. That's a CBT therapist. I hope all my subscribers, viewers are having a lovely Sunday, and I wish you all a beautiful, blessed week ahead. I would like to thank all my subscribers, viewers, for all the comments and for your kindness, mindfulness, the respect you'll give each other and me. I really do appreciate that. Today I'd like to speak a bit about the Idaho quadruple murders that took place on the 13th of November 2022. This happened in Moscow, Idaho. Like you're aware of, most of the people on my channel follow the case, so you're quite updated on how the case is developing. Brian Christopher Koberger and his defense attorney, Ann Taylor, have asked for a switch of court revenues. They wanted BK's trial to be conducted and done in another court, like in a bigger county, example Boise, but it was denied. The prosecution, Bill Thompson, who said that he has no reason to see why the trial can't be fairly conducted in Moscow, Idaho, in Later County, because he said that he knows of friends that went to Mexico for a short vacation, and people immediately asked him about this case. People in Mexico knew about this case, so he meant that this case has gone so viral and so international that there's no point of changing the venues. I totally disagree. I believe that the correct justice needs to be served. We just don't want anyone to be arrested for the Idaho quadruple murders. We need the correct people. Everyone who was involved in this brutal, horrific killings, unlivings, need to be held and be put to accountability. The court and the jury and the judge decides who is guilty and who is innocent. But until then, we know that there's 3 unidentified male DNAs, and that is a big deal because that is actually part of the case. If these 3 unidentified male DNAs did not exist, I don't think I would be working that hard. I just believe that it's so unfair that the defense attorney and BK's team are not getting to see the 3 unidentified male DNAs. We know that there was a glove found, just like the famous trial of O.J. Simpson, who unlived his wife, Nicole Simpson, and her friend Goldmill, Ron Goldmill, I believe his name was. In that case, we had Mark Furman, the cop that planted the glove that became famous, and that is the reason O.J. Simpson, which 85 or 90% of the world believes is guilty, which I do believe too, got away because of the fault and the crime of Mark Furman. In this case, we have another glove that was found in front of the house. We have a later shoe print. Just hold on, guys. Brian Christopher Koberger, his defense team is asking for transparency in this case, especially that's what Brian Christopher Koberger is asking for. He wants all the documents that have been sealed to be unsealed. He wants the public to see everything that has been sealed, which I think is quite fair. They seal documents, then they put a gag order, and then the prosecutor applies to the court to put a new gag order on top of the gag order that existed. They seal the files that are already sealed again and again. So Brian Christopher Koberger has been asking for transparency for a long time. The 3 unidentified male DNAs was told to us by the prosecutor, Bill Thompson. In the court, he told Ann Taylor, he told the court that he doesn't know where the 3 unidentified male DNAs are. And he said, if I don't know where it is, how am I supposed to get it? He said, we submitted it to the lab, and the lab gave us all the results, or some of the results, but they did not give us the results for the 3 unidentified males. That was in October. Judge John Judge, that's his name, put in an order saying that the prosecution has to hand over all the evidence by 1st December. This was on 1st November. I don't know how much of that has happened. They must have submitted some, but not all. And out of that, some of the evidence that comes in, Judge John Judge is going to make up his mind how much of that evidence he's willing to share with the defense attorney. So when you look at that, you can clearly see that there's no transparency there. There's nothing going on there that should be. So the defense attorney, like I said, has been asking for transparency. Nothing has been happening in that department. I personally believe the first timeline was the right timeline. And I played this clip of Brian Entin asking the prosecutor if they have a person of interest, and this was before Brian Christopher Koberger was arrested. He said, we do not have a person of interest. And then he said, is there anyone that you'll have your eye on? Any certain person? He said, no, there's no one. So you can imagine, they did not have the eye on anyone. They did not have anyone at that time. So you can imagine, when Mr. William Thompson, the prosecutor, is saying that they did not have anyone in mind, I wonder, when did they get to know it was Brian Christopher Koberger who did this crime, and how did they get to know? That is important, because motive is not important, but they have to show, the prosecutor has to show the jury in the trial how he has to show the judge how he came to this conclusion that Brian Christopher Koberger is the guy that did the quadruple murders. It sounds there like they had nobody, but yet again, they went to go to Brian Christopher Koberger. I know the police is not going to share with the media and the public who they have, but the prosecutor was quite consistent in saying that they had nobody. I remember the police chief saying that too. All of a sudden, a white Hyundai Elantra is what they're searching for, and then all of a sudden, they ping it on Brian Koberger. I'm not saying they pinged it on Brian Koberger, but they charge him for the crimes. But let's not forget, the Hyundai Elantra that they're searching for has nothing to do with the description of Brian Christopher Koberger's Hyundai. Yet again, although the Hyundai Elantra did not fit the description of the one that Moscow Police Department was searching for, they were searching for 2011 to 2013 Hyundai Elantra. We saw a white Hyundai Elantra in front of Jack's front yard. It just parked. I heard Jack D sold his white pickup car 1 week after the murders. I wonder why, if that is true. There is a lot that was happening in the beginning. We were told from the chief, according to the timeline, the surviving roommates, both of them were sleeping downstairs. How did they end up changing it after 7 weeks, after 49 days, saying that the affidavit says that Dylan Mortensen got to see the killer, the person who did these horrific crimes, trigger warning. She saw a man with a description of a mask, black mask, black clothing, athletic build, 5'11". Did she give her own description, I wonder? Because it looks like that's her own description. What was Dylan doing for her not to have called the cops for 8 hours? Now, 8 hours is a long time not to call 911. So my question is, did she go back to sleep with 4 people deceased in the house? Didn't the smell of deceased bodies, trigger warning, didn't the smell of red liquid bother her at all? Because when the police entered, the first officer, he said that the smell of blood hit him. It was so strong, he said, it reeked of blood. So I would love to know what's her name, Dylan Mortensen was doing exactly between the period of 3, I would say 3, because that was the first timeline. In fact, I would say much earlier. Let's start from 2, because we see a lot of fishy behaviors going on when it comes to the couple, E and Z. What was happening? His mother said 2 a.m. is the hardest time for them. What happened at 2 a.m.? Why did the coroner pronounce them dead sometime after 2 a.m.? So nothing happened before 2 a.m. And the mother said 2 a.m. is the hardest time. Let's put all that together. That means Eaton and Xana passed away, unfortunately, between 2 to 2:15. I believe E was first, Xana was second. May they rest in peace. And then we have Maddie and Kaylee were the grub truck. And when they came home, I believe they ran into a bad situation. They ran into maybe Xana and her boyfriend badly hurt and injured, or they must have ran into both of them deceased. They must have tried. This is just my thoughts, guys. This is for entertainment purpose only. I believe they could have ran easily towards Taylor Avenue, and whoever was inside the house must have chased them and dragged them back inside, because you can see Maddie his long black coat that she borrowed from one of the jacks in the bushes there. We saw the police officers, or my question is, were they police officers? I'm starting to wonder now. They were checking Maddie's jacket. They checked in the pockets and they threw it back in the bushes. What was exactly going on is a mystery. I really wonder who those two men were. They just had the black jackets that said police behind. And I'm not accusing them and saying that they're not police, but anyone can get that. You saw one of the guys that I showed in a recent clip who was standing and talking to the reporters, and they were asking him, like he put the crime scene rope back in as soon as he came. He looked like a cowboy, and he just said Northern Police or something like that. These people don't have badges, they're not showing who they are, so we don't know who the FBI and who the police were. But many people were roaming around in the crime scene and still coming and visiting, and they weren't telling the media who they are. So I'm starting to wonder if the person was checking Kaylee and Maddie, or Maddie is Black Coat, if they may have possibly that they may have come from somewhere else than the police and the FBI. It is kind of strange, I believe. Especially that guy. I found it recently and I'll show you all now. Just hold on. You can see they're checking the jacket. They're checking the pockets. You can see that. They threw it back in the bushes. It's written police, but that's it. Shouldn't it be written Moscow police?
University of Idaho students were killed in November, just over 24 hours after suspected killer Brian Koberger's first court appearance.
Well, two black vehicles were parked behind crime scene tape at the house tonight, with one man hinting about what he was doing there and why he had police clearance. Take a listen to this new exclusive video just into our newsroom.
Sir, are you one of the private investigators hired by the defense?
No.
No? Not hired by anybody? Not the defense? Prosecution? Kobergers?
We can hear that man say in that video that he's a private investigator, but denies being hired by Koberger's defense attorney, Ann Taylor. He wouldn't say who hired him. We know the family of Kaylee Gonsalves have been thinking about hiring a private investigator in recent weeks, but we don't know if that changed with the arrest of a murder suspect.
So who hired this man? Who is this police officer? It's just written Northern States. He's not even a police officer. Doesn't he look like one of the guys who was just checking Maddie's coat? That's strange. Were these some other people? Who led them into the crime scene? What were they searching for?
I'm not saying that the murder weapon is back here, but primarily to make a determination if there's any physical evidence back here. Malta, this was a very gruesome murder scene, according to the medical examiner. According to the medical examiner, there was actually blood on the walls. And I can tell you, if we...
So you could clearly see that was Maddie's coat that was in the bushes, most likely, allegedly. The cops were, or the so-called cops, because honestly, the more I dig into this case, the more I research this case, I don't believe there are cops. You do not have such badges, and you don't go without a badge when you're involved in a criminal case, especially a quadruple murder that is so high profile. So my question is, how many other people have been inside the house that are not the police in Moscow, Idaho, or the Idaho police, or who are not even the FBI, who have no right to be there, who are not the forensic team. And then it comes to the forensic team. They were not wearing the clothes, the kit that they're supposed to be wearing as the forensic team. When they came in the beginning of this case, when they came into the property, we all could clearly see how the forensic team was dressed. They did not even have their gloves, their mask. We could see they were coughing. They did not have the thing for your feet, the forensic footwear. They were sneezing, they were coughing. They're human beings, and it's a cold winter day, but that's not how you're supposed to conduct a forensic crime scene. Then we have the medical what's it called, expert. She wasn't the medical doctor, or she wasn't a proper medical, the forensic team. She was just a nurse. She was qualified as a nurse and as a lawyer, strangely enough. She was giving out her opinion, talking about whether it was sharp force injuries or whether what kind of knife was used, and she said it wasn't stabs, it was tear wounds. That's what she told Kaylee's father, and she spoke to Kaylee's younger sister, and she informed her about the autopsies and how Kaylee died and how she looked and all. I think that was really so unprofessional and unmindful. That is a little girl. She traumatized her for life. She's already traumatized by hearing what happened to her sister, but hearing it from the corner in details make it just worse. She just caused the family financial problems, issues, honestly, by putting their daughter in counseling. They would be going to counseling no matter what, but these girls would be suffering of post-trauma stress, PTSD. So this is really, really terrible for the family. But I found it strange that Kaylee's mother said that she heard that Kaylee was shot in a party. Why would that be said, shot in a party? Why would Kaylee be shot in a party? Was there a party? We've heard so many rumors and speculations about party. Was there a party on that night, or was there a party on the night before? This is really strange. When you look at the living room, the picture is frozen in time. You can see a lot of red cups. You can see a lot of party cups on the table, and it's not like it's unused cups like on top of each other. These are cups that are lying on the table like they're sitting on the table like people were using them. So I wonder if, because let's remember we were told that the couple stayed at home. What if they decided somebody knocked at their door from the Sigma Chi fraternity boys? They know them. They let them in, and maybe a fight happened, a struggle happened. That's why Xana had defensive wounds. And we heard that, what's her name? Dylan Mortensen opened the door and said, Stop it, I'm trying to sleep here. She heard people were raging upstairs. So could it be possible that the boys that were invited in, the 4 boys, because do you remember seeing 4 figures running? What if they were invited in and they already planned to execute these 4 young students? That is completely possible. We have this Paramount Plus bringing out this series. I've seen I think just 1 and 2. I don't know if the 3rd one has come out. And so far it's about Bulhan Betty, aka Betty, and it's about Chronicles with Olivia, and it was really strange things that they decided to put out. they wanted to make the YouTube society and community look bad. But what is strange is I wonder if Bullhorn Betty, JLR, and Olivia, all of these creators that you see on the screen are Paramount. I heard that Paramount reached them. So what? My question is, did they get a deal? It's just a question. It's quite surprising. And if that is the case, why would you let your own community down? If I was contacted, I wouldn't have even taken it for free. Because if they want to call me about discussing the case and letting me tell them what I believe and showing them what I see about the grub truck example and the Banfield, I'm willing to help. But if you want people to expose the YouTube creators and the YouTube community, then I'm disservice for y'all. Because this is a family community in YouTube. No matter how we creators get along or don't get along, we are still doing it, are we? It's not like we're here to troll people's names and all. I don't do that. But I do discuss and show y'all what I see in the grub truck. That doesn't mean I'm exposing someone's name, address, or anything. These students were, no matter what, under the microscope, according to the police themselves. I think the media is running out of stuff. I think they're unhappy that social media came over and is taking over their good bits, maybe. But we work hard for our content. So I'm surprised at those YouTube creators. But back to this case, y'all heard what the Fox News reporter said. It was a bloody crime scene. Trigger warning. There was red liquid on the walls. So was it the boys in the grub truck? Or was it the four figures running? Or was it Brian Christopher Kohlberger? Was it the Sigma Chi fraternity boys? Was it the grub truck boys? Was it Jack D who could have done it out of passion, crime of passion? That is the words of the mayor. That was the words that even was used by Idaho Moscow police in the beginning. Targeted crime was always said. We still know it's targeted. We had the prosecutor saying that this was a crime of passion. And he even said that this was the house was a target. He said the house was the target, not the victims. But Chief Fry said the victims were the target. There was a lot of miscommunication between the police force themselves. They should have just let the FBI speak for them. Then we have the knife sheet that we need to know where that touch DNA came from. The problem with touch DNA is you have to explain in court how the touch DNA got there. Okay, now the touch DNA is there, that's good enough, but how did it get there? You have to explain it. And I think this is what Brian Christopher Kohlberger is talking about. When he's talking about transparency, this is the transparency he wants the public to see. I do not believe in like what the Congalvis family said. They said that he came with a kill kit. I do not believe that, honestly. I don't believe he came with a kill kit. He had no reason to. There's no motives. There's no connections between him and the victims. But it's quite strange that the people that had connections with the girls and the victims were actually from the Sigma Chi fraternity boys. And the people who had beef with these victims was Jack S, possibly, allegedly, and Jack D, who broke up with Kaylee. I'm not saying they had beef, but he wasn't very happy that Kaylee broke up with him and Kaylee was moving to Austin, Texas. We usually know that the spouses get looked at. What happened to my tongue today? Anyway, basically, to put it this way, there are many people that still I keep my eyes on. They should still have been people of interest. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. Both the Jacks were neighbors of the victims. One lives on the left-hand side on Queens Road. The other lives on the right-hand side. He has two white vehicles parked in front of his house at those times. One was a 2011 to 2013 Elantra. I think it was a 2013 white Elantra. He said he was sleeping and the police let him go. He could have easily jumped from behind his window without having his roommate. Coincidentally, his roommate is Adam. So I don't understand. Everyone seems to have been let go and cleared so quickly. We have Jack Showalter. Did you hear Paramount saying that he went to Africa and he didn't go to Africa and all? We never said that he went to Africa. I've never said that. But I know that he drove that night to his parents' cabin, and that is 5.5 hours away. So my question is, why did he drive so far on a Saturday night when I'm sure he was drinking in the corner club? Most people who go outside to clubs and pubs, they usually drink, and it was the football night. So how did he drive there by himself, and what was the reason that drove him? Was the factor that drove him there? We know that Jack Showalter loves hunting. We've seen horrific pictures of him hunting, and we could see the animals, red liquid all outside, trigger warning, pouring out. This man has K-bar knives. He has it on his Facebook too. He took it down. So why wouldn't I believe that I shouldn't look into a person like him? That is not speculations. That is more than speculations, because these are facts. He was thrown out of the corner club for whatever purpose. He was thrown out for bothering females. But we don't, many people say it was Maddie and Kaylee, and some people say it was two other girls. So whatever reason he was thrown out is the same reason he was thrown out of his own fraternity, Delta Tau Delta. And that's a fact. He was thrown out for his behavior. So you have Jack T, you have Jack S, then you have the dog Murphy that was left unharmed. No DNA was found on Murphy, although we heard just now that this was a bloody crime. There was blood on the walls. This does not make sense. Dylan Mortensen and Bethany Funk took 8 hours or 9 hours to call the police. Instead of calling the police, they called the Sigma Chi fraternity boys, Hunter, and then later on Hunter Chapin. His brother came along. And I heard Macy was even in the scene. I feel so sorry for them. Those are the triplets. But I don't understand. It was said that the doors wouldn't open in Xana's room. Something was blocking it, and allegedly it was his body. Some said he was found in bed, but that's not what was said actually. He was found between the doorway and the room, is what I heard. That's definitely the reason. They called the Sigma Chi fraternity boys because they couldn't open the room. The knife sheet is one of the most important things, because nobody believes BK's story because of the knife sheet. Let's not forget it's a touch DNA. The knife sheet could be possibly not even Brian Christopher Koberger's knife sheet. It could have been there from before. It could have been planted there. Maybe Maddie or Kaylee had a knife because they were scared of Kaylee's stalker. Maybe Brian used to come to that house, and maybe they showed him the knife and he touched him. The touch DNA, they have to prove how the touch DNA got there. The timelines shows that there was a car in front of the girl's house at 3 a.m. at night. We saw the four figures running at 3:12, running from the girls' house around those areas towards the Sigma Chi fraternity. The body cam of the police caught it, so that's important. I don't understand why the police ain't talking much about it, and I hope that Ann Taylor uses it in her case. The 3 unidentified male DNAs and the 4 figures running to the Sigma Chi from Queens Road or from Kings Road, from the victim's house. Then we have all these things going on allegedly about Linda Lane. Honestly, I wouldn't know what really happened in Linda Lane. It still confuses the hell out of me. I hate to use such words. I really apologize for that one. But honestly, Linda Lane is one footage I haven't understood, but the Taylor Avenue one is the one I really care about. That body cam, because a lot is happening there. And that is facts. Linda Lane is allegedly. Everything happened in Linda Lane has been debunked by the police. That's why I watch the grub truck and analyze it and keep on analyzing it, because there's always something new I find in the grub truck. And the Banfield too. We have the 4 figures running. We have these people on Banfield. I've repeated it so many times that it's become like a song for me, and I'm sure it's tiring for you all to hear that too. But we can clearly see that nothing makes sense in this case. Things should have added up by now. It's been a year and a half, a year and 3 months, but things are more baffling than they were in the beginning. I personally believe that someone in the inside was definitely working with whoever did these crimes. People knew about this case, about the killings, the unlivings before the police, and you can see that in the air mail. The first part, the first one that came out in November 2022, explains the scene the officers came into. It's even in my channel if you go further down. The place smelled of death. That's what was said. When the police came there, there was a sea of people there. A sea of people. So you can imagine how many people were there. That means crowds and crowds and crowds of people were already standing there. Some people have already entered the crime scene, and they were up in Maddie and Katie's room because nobody went there to see the 2 girls who were deceased. I found it strange that their faces, eating as Xana says, were put near each other, it was said in the airmail. Their faces looked like it was frozen in time. And it was well kept, so I wonder, was the rest of their body, trigger warning, badly beaten? And so was the girls upstairs. Kaylee was found in a sitting position. We heard that from her mother. And I believe that because I showed you all that a couple of months ago on the Banfield video. I showed you all what Saeed Ali was watching, and what he was watching, you could clearly see. Somebody who looked like Kaylee with blonde hair sitting on the bed, and you could see red liquid pouring out. I hate to say that, but you can go back to my videos and watch it if you don't believe me. But I showed it before. I exposed that without even knowing that Kaylee's mother has those pictures, has seen those things, or has been told by the coroner. I hope they get to see my video, the parents, and inquire more from the police about how Saeed got those pictures. I want to know if everything was live streamed. Was it live streamed from the grub truck? Was it live streamed privately? Was it through WhatsApp? Was it through some other kind of social media? And was Quinn Kelly DM his boyfriend there that day, that night, like it was said? I would really love to know all these things. This case is on too much gag orders, and if we have so many questions, imagine what questions the jury have. They will have reasonable doubt. This case doesn't make sense. His phone pinging and not pinging is questions that Beaker and his lawyer will have to definitely answer. But it's a small area, not all the phones ping to the tower all the time. It's a known fact. There's no weapon. There's no motive. There's no connections between BK and the victims. So all these things are going to be tough for the jury to hear. They would want to know more. And the clip I just put now about Rachel Anderson, the case that William Thompson, the prosecutor, won. Rachel, the missing mother, 39-year-old, 40-year-old mother, missing mother from Clarkson. I put that case, please watch that. I forgot to tell you, in the case, I just found out that not only was it the prosecutor, William Thompson, who won the case without Rachel's body and without any weapon, but the judge that was in charge of the case was actually Judge John Judge. So the prosecutor and the judge has worked in Rachel's case before. I just wanted to say that. I found that to be important. And I really thank William Thompson and the judge and the whole jury for making Charles Capone pay for the murder of his wife Rachel Anderson. May she rest in peace. Coming back to this case, BK and his team were refused any transparency, and they were refused change of venue. So let's see how it goes. The trial date hasn't been set. I don't know if there's any news today if the trial has been set, but the way I know it, nothing has been set. But I heard that Ann Taylor wants up to 2025 summer to prepare for this case. There's a lot to go through. She's got a lot, thousands of gigabytes to go through and watch. As for Brian Christopher Koberger, if he's guilty, he should pay, but if he's not guilty, I hope he sues them. As for the parents of the victims of the family, I wish them my condolences. I hope the time will give them strength to be stronger. As for the students who were there when it happened, I hope that whoever knows the truth has some conscience and comes forward and gives these 4 victims justice, especially someone from the Sigma Chi or Sigma Chi fraternity. Let's not forget, the 4chan anonymous person already came. How many times do we want people to come forward if nothing's going to be done? Please like, share, and subscribe. Maybe get the correct justice for the 4 victims. May Kaylee rest in peace. May Maddie rest in peace. May Xana rest in peace. May Eaton rest in peace. May the Idaho rest in peace. May all the victims everywhere in the world rest in peace. Look after your mental health and look after your physical health. Have a lovely week ahead. Stay blessed. Bye.